Hello, and welcome to the newest series on my YouTube channel called Let's Read Through, something like that. I'll come up with a clever name. I'm good at that. We're going to start with Dungeons & Dragons Rule Cyclopedia. I have read through this on my old channel, but I've lost that channel. And I also didn't do a complete read-through. I would skim through and read like big important parts. But this is going to be a sit-down, go through, read through the entire book. Every day I'll post a video, hopefully, reading through a section of the book. This could be long, this could be short, it varies. We're going to start right off the bat with Rules Cyclopedia. And its contents go, does it tell me? Yeah, it 302, so there's a lot. But let's get started. The D&D Cyclopedia is as accurate a name as you could want for this book. A cyclopedia is an encyclopedia, and this book is an encyclopedia of all major D&D game rules. This book is intended to be a reference volume for those who already play the D&D game. You'll find it much more convenient to look up a specific rule here than in earlier versions of the game. Ooh, a yawn, sorry. Just about everything appearing in the box sets is here, but in a more convenient format. For example, all the game's spells are in one place, and all the details of creating a fighter class character are in one location. However, though this book is aimed at the experienced user, it is possible to learn to play the D&D game from these pages. The Cyclopedia lacks many of the examples and the patient explanations you'll find in the Dungeons & Dragons box sets, but you can still learn to play from those rules. So that's very important. When I read through this, I did kind of get that vibe that it's user-friendly, it's beginner-friendly, but it also is more like, you know what you're looking for, you know what you want. But yeah, we'll read through a couple of these. We'll read through this introduction for the first video. It'll probably be a bit short, though. What is role-playing? Before television, there was radio. Audiences earlier in this century sat in front of their radios and thrilled to the exploits of bigger-than-life radio heroes. Since it was radio, they couldn't see what was going on, but they didn't need to. All the action was described by dialogue, narration, and sound effects, and was translated by the imaginations of the listeners into scenes they could see, experience, and remember. Role-playing games are much like radio adventures, except for one important detail. They're interactive. One player provides the narrative and some of the dialogue, but the other players, instead of just sitting envisioning what's going on, actually participate. Each player controls the actions of a character in the story, decides on his actions, supplies his character's dialogue, and makes decisions based on the character's personality and his current game options. The Dungeons & Dragons game is a fantasy role-playing game. This means that it's set in a world where men and women can wield powerful magic, where monsters like dragons thrive, and where heroes like Sinbad, Hercules, and Lancelot abound. When you play the D&D game, one player will become the Dungeon Master, also known as the DM or referee. He or she will create the world and setting in which the adventures will be taking place, and will create a variety of characters to populate the world. The DM will also develop situations taking place in that world, and will then run adventures, acting as the main narrator of the stories, in which the other players' characters will participate. The other players will create characters, the heroes of the DM's story. The DM will present their characters with situations, and they'll decide how to react to those situations. Every situation progressing toward a conclusion becomes an adventure or story. A number of adventures played one after another become a campaign. So yeah, that's a brief explanation of role-playing. They go over that in every book, because I guess they do want to explain it like this is what role-playing is. Because I know there are people who don't get into role-playing when it comes to D&D. Like, I've had a couple people in my games that are there for the combat, and that's fine. When I first started, that's what I thought I would like. But I ended up liking role-play a lot. So if you're ever sitting there thinking, role-playing is not for me, I like the crunchiness, I like the numbers, give role-play a shot. It will surprise you. Let me move the book. Setting up. When a group gets together to play, everyone should bring what they need, including dice, pencils and papers, and characters, preferably on character sheets. A table is normally used. The DM sitting at one end with information about the dungeon. The DM often uses an upright piece of stiff cardboard called a screen to hide the description and maps of the dungeon so they are not accidentally seen by the players. The players sit around the table, away from the DM, where they can all easily see any maps made during the adventure, the order of the figures if used, and so forth. Ooh, yawned again. During the game, players should be allowed to refer to any player's aid whenever they wish, including the character creation section of the Cyclopedia, chapters 1 through 5. However, they should not be allowed to see everything in this book. The mystery and excitement on unknown monsters and magic can be spoiled if someone looks up all the details during the game. Yeah, that applies now. You don't, like, everybody uses a DM. I don't use a DM screen because I'm permanently online. I have not played in person. But I have DM screens, and I would use them if needed. But it's the same point that just exists always. You know, you want to keep it a secret. You want to make sure the players don't have the advantage of knowing, like it says, don't read the book if you're a player. Well, you can read the book, but don't go too far into it. Don't spoil anything for yourself or others. Mapping and calling. I remember this one being a bit different. I yawned again. Although each person will be playing the role of a character, the player should also handle the jobs of mapping and calling. Any player can be the mapper or caller. The mapper is the player who draws a map of the dungeon as it is explored. One or more of the characters should be making maps, but one of the players must make the actual map. The map should be kept on the table for all to see and refer to. Pencil should be used when making the map in case of errors or tricky passages. If the party's movement carries it into new and unmapped territory, the DM will describe the area in detail so the party's mapper can map it. If something such as a secret door or treasure item is discovered, the DM describes it and announces the result if the characters examine it. The caller is a player selected by the other players to describe party actions so the DM doesn't have to listen to several voices at once. He or she tells the DM what the party is doing this turn. If the DM prefers, each individual player can describe his own actions. The caller is just a convenience in many campaigns. It's not a game rule that the players have to use. That is something I never thought of. Especially with 5th edition, you just think, okay, everybody describes their action and you go around the table and everybody does something. But having a caller in certain situations could be pretty beneficial if you just have, say they're just spelunking in a dungeon. One person's the caller. Hey, where are we going, guys? Okay, DM, we go this way or we do this. And it could be beneficial, but I could also see how having a caller could impede some players where it's like, hey, I want to do this, but the caller's like, no, we're doing this. Using the dice. Often the characters want to do something that involves an element of chance. Say someone wants to leap onto a galloping horse. He might make it or he might not. You can roll dice to decide if the action succeeds. In the D&D game, there are many kinds of dice. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and even 20-sided dice. I keep yawning. A 4-sided dice looks like a pyramid. Drop it on the table, read the numbers that are face up along the bottom of the die. This number is the result of the roll. I think it's different now. When rolling any die with 6 sides or more, one side always lands face up. This number is the result. On the 10-sided die, the number 0 is usually read as 10. You can use a 10-sided die to find a percentage, a number from 1 to 100. Roll the die once, read the result as the tens digit, counting a 0 as no tens. Roll a second time and read the results as the ones digit. If both rolls are zeros, the result is 100. We often use abbreviations to refer to various kinds of die. A D followed by the number of the dice side, for example, D6, refers to a 6-sided die. We use D percentage or D1D100 refer to percentage die. There are no 2 or 3-sided die, but we can pretend there are. We can use a coin for a D2, heads is a 1, tails is a 2, to make a D3, roll a D6, and then divide the result by 2 and round up. Often a number appears before the D as well as after it. This shows the number of times you should roll the die. For example, 2d8 means you roll the 8-sided die twice. When you roll a die more than once, add the results of the rolls together. So 3d6 means roll the 6-sided die 3 times and add the results. For example, a 3d6 roll of 3, 5, and 1 is 9. 3 plus 5 plus 1 equals 9. So yeah, that's perfect. I mean, I can't explain it any better. I know now there are such things as a D2 or D3 in some circles. Keep yawning, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's a great explanation of die. Cyclopedia organization. This book is divided into the character creation section, the rules section, and the appendices, character creation section. In this section of the book, we're going to describe everything needed to know in order to create a player character. A character played by any player except the Dungeon Master. The DM too will find this section useful when creating human and demi-human non-player characters. In this section, chapters 1 through 5 give you a basic understanding of the D&D game rules, a thorough description of the way human and demi-human characters are created, information on the spells, skills, and equipment the characters use to accomplish their objectives, and information on the things players and their characters need to do in the course of a game. Yeah, so character creation, huge thing now. I mean, it's always been a huge thing. That's the bread and butter. You make a character that fits your play style and something you want to play. Now, human and demi-human, I'm not very familiar. I am familiar with that, as in this rule set, every character is human unless you're a demi-human. Rules section. This section of the book, covering chapters 6 through 19, gives detailed information on handling movement, encounters, and combat. It also covers procedures such as mass combat, granting experience, and playing non-player characters. Its largest components include all information needed for monsters, immortals, and treasure. In addition, the section discusses dungeon master procedures, campaigning, variant rules, and the planes of existence. So, standard stuff. Appendices. The appendices hold valuable information regarding the D&D game world and also on converting characters over to the advanced Dungeons & Dragons game. You'll find supplemental record sheets, useful forms, and indices for spells and rules. Same as always. And then finally, pronoun note. The male pronoun he, him, his are used throughout this book. We hope this won't be interpreted by anyone as an attempt to exclude females from the game or to imply their exclusion. Centuries of use have made these pronouns neutral, and we feel that their use provides for clear and concise written text. That's freaking perfect. That is I love that section. I do. But I think that's where we'll end it for today. Yeah. So tomorrow we will move on to character creation. I need a bookmark. I'll use you. You're a bookmark. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. This will be a daily series because it's going to take me a long time to read through all of this. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed.